Hello there everyone, welcome back to another video about the One Piece card game. This is going to be my review of ST10, so I'm going to talk about the cards here and then I'm going to cut to an unboxing of the actual product and we're going to talk through what that's like, and then I'm going to give my verdict basically of like, is it worth it to buy this starter deck. So let's begin by going through the cards and giving my review. Firstly, the two reprints. So you get 4 copies of Nami in the starter deck and you get 4 copies of Zoro. These are both amazing reprints, and to be perfectly honest, I think picking up one starter deck just for access to these and the leaders alone is worth it. Genuinely, I think that alone is compelling enough, because these are staples in red forever. Zoro is a highly efficient rush unit that is incredibly synergistic with a huge number of different decks, and Nami is just a staple searcher. Basically the best searcher in the game, pretty much always will be, because I think they've designed this as the searcher ceiling until we literally get direct searching from deck. So yeah, like this is nuts. Yeah, amazing reprints, and they look phenomenal. You'll see them in the unboxing section of this video. Then we have the leaders, and we'll start with worst to best. So Kid is definitely the worst, and this is not bad. So this is a 5-life 2-color leader, which has on your turn, if you have 4 more life, it's 4k, so you have to attach a Don basically onto it. And then when attacking, Don -1, it gets 2k for the turn. So late game, it's just 7k constantly, like really easily. Especially if you chain that with the 7-cost Kid, then it's going to be an 8k swing that is 6k on your opponent's turn. That basically costs you nothing. It's infinitely repeatable. But then also, you get that 5th life, right? Like, and yeah, okay, it's 4 or more life, so like, it's a little annoying in the early game that you don't really get to swing for the first couple turns, but like once you get through that sort of hump, this is very good. I think this is the least explored of the leaders in the Japanese metagame, but it's also like the least obviously powerful. But it's just good value, and I think you could see like a lot of success in a deck that's just consistently relying on these Don minuses to get like really solid value. Yeah, great effect in my opinion. And that's the worst one. So next we've got Luffy. This is a 3-life 6k leader with an activate main once per turn. If you've got 0 or 8 or more Don, ramp 1. So yeah, basically you're playing this because it's 6k, and you design your deck around like abusing that fact, like buffing its stats to make it really big, playing lots of vanillas. This is like Whitebeard 2.0, just like way less consistent, and like a fair version of Whitebeard essentially. But it makes up for it by giving you access to really powerful cards in purple, and a ramp effect. Overall, I think this is also very good, and you can build lots of decks around it. In my opinion, this is the best of the leaders. This is the one with the most staying power, and this is the one that, listen, if it's a lore, it's going to be good. So this is your 4-life leader, and this is once per turn, Don -3, place up to one of your opponent's characters with 3,000 power or less at the bottom of their deck, and then play up to one character with a cost of 4 or less from your hand. So this is, this is obviously incredible. There are synergies in this deck to like re-ramp you up when you've done your Don minuses, that mean that this effect is nowhere near like as bad as it seems on paper, basically like unusable till late game. And you're able to just do so much incredible board control with this, combined with the support you get in set 5, that makes this deck very consistent. And there's a huge range where this can go, but I think in set 6, this is like pure speculation, this is going to move into a film based deck. This is going to be red purple film primarily, with like text, like other useful cards, right? So for example, you'll probably play Rush Zoro, you'll probably play the set 6 Reiju, for example, that draws you cards, but like by and large I think it's going to be a film focused deck, which just shows the versatility of the leader, where you're just playing it for the leader effect and you don't necessarily have to focus on that for the synergies. But yeah, very powerful card. So all 3 of these leaders alone, I think it's worth it to pick up this. Like, I'll just say this now, like, buy one, just for the leaders. They look so good and they are really powerful. But onto the actual cards in the deck. So you get Sanji. This is a 6/6 1k counter on play. If your opponent has a character with 5,000 more power, this character gains a rush. This is a really easy condition to meet. 1 Don makes us a 7/7 rush, which is pretty decent. Yeah, this is fine. I think primarily you're going to be using this in like these hyper aggro strategies. Yeah, like it's definitely a decent card. Next, we've got a 2k counter, Jinbei. This is a 2/2, which has Don 1 when attacking. You're up to one of your opponent's characters and minus 2,000 power during its turn. This is decent. It's not actually bad, but you're primarily going to be using this as a 2k counter, like by and large. But it has some very good traits. And being a Straw Hat Crew character, being a 2k counter, is definitely a very decent card. Next, we have got one of the 3 exclusive cards to this deck. That is Monkey D. 3 exclusive like special cards, which is Monkey D. Luffy. So this is a 10/11 with Rush, and then once per turn, when your opponent activates blocker, KO up to one of your opponent's characters with 8,000 power or less. So a ruling to be aware of: if your opponent like declares blocker, the attack is blocked. You don't get to like pop the blocker and then just keep going. It is redirected, so if they only have like a blocker on board, then yep. Additionally, if they have a way to stop effect negation, this effect popping, this does nothing. And the final thing to be aware of is like this is your whole turn, right? Like you're gonna slam this down, you're gonna swing, and yeah, it's very, very scary, but if your opponent can kill you on the crackback, then is it really worth it? So it's a high risk, high reward card. It can definitely close out games, but I think by and large, based on the fact it doesn't have any counter, and the fact that like yes, it's extremely powerful and you can probably get some immediate value out of it. But you know, if your opponent can basically like just counter through and just take the remaining damage, it's not going to get this value, and then you're just going to be sad. Also, again, like I mean, but there's a lot about this card where like if the cards can't be removed, then it's not very great, not very good. But yeah, I think this is decent. I think this is a pretty decent card, which may become silly in the future. But I think right now it's decent. We got Killer. It's 5/6, best stat line in the game in my opinion. Like best like standard that you see it all over the place. It says once per turn, when a Don card on your field is returned to your Don deck, care up to one of your opponent's rescue characters with a cost of 3 or less. Simple, effective. This is decent. When you combine this with cost reductions, I think this can like become very, very powerful. But in the context of this deck, it's fine. It's again like this seems more designed for use with the Kid Leader, where you can consistently like ensure that Don minus and then potentially like do some interaction there. Whereas the Luffy seems much more designed for like the Luffy Leader, where you have that sort of 6k body, it's easy to defend, it's less risky. But I think these are both fine cards. Okay, Shachin Penguin, this is your first staple from this deck that you have to play. And it is, yeah, it's a 4/5, 2k counter. On play, if you have 3 or less Don cards on your field, add up to 2 Don cards from your Don deck and rest them. So obviously you're sitting there going, well, it's a 4 cost, and how am I going to meet that condition? Because you are playing it out through the Trafalgar Law effect. So basically, as long as you have 6 Don or less when you use the Law effect, you are going to be able to Shachin Penguin. You're going to basically only have Don -1. Which makes the Law effect insane, right? Like I would take a Don -1 trade to remove something and play a body any day of the week. Also, there's the 2k counter, so when it gets beyond that point in the game, you got a 2k. Yeah, staple 4 of in every like one of these purple Law decks. Next we've got John Bart. This is stable for now, but I think it probably gets cut soon. It's a 4/5 with on play, pay 1 to ramp it on as active. So you need 5 Don up, but it's gonna get you something else. Honestly, like the only reason you are playing this is because it's got counter and it's 4 cost. I think there's better options coming, but it's fine. Like it's another ramp for purple, like which has there's a whole suite of them. Next we've got probably the best / tied for best. I'd say both of the others seem to be better than Luffy. Of these special rares. So this is a 4/5 with a 1k counter. Blocker. On play, Don -1. If your opponent has 7 or more cards in their hand, trash 2. So randomly, like trash 2. Yes, Don -1 to make your opponent go -2 is kind of insane. And if you ever resolve this, like you're just laughing. Honestly, you force your opponent to play like around the existence of this card. You don't even necessarily have to play this card, but the fact that it exists is going to force your opponent to play in a certain way. Yeah, this card's nuts. Super good. I think it's a 4 of in basically all of these decks. Really powerful. Next we got Heat, and this is a really good one. So this is a 3/4 with a 1k counter. It says, your turn, once per turn. When a Don card on your field is returned to your Don deck, this character gains 2k until the start of your next turn, so it becomes a 6k. And a 3/6 is obviously insanely good, and with Kid, you are always going to be able to have this effect live, right? Like you guarantee it. You use the effect to swing, even when you have like a high amount of life, you are going to go ahead and get 2k, so you can swing for 6 with that with Kid, so it's still a decent swing, and then you have a 6k swing with Heat. I think that's very powerful, especially come set 5 when you're going to be able to get that Don back as well through things like Blocker Kid. Yeah, very good. This is really good in that context. It's a question of space more than anything, and if you're not basically able to always guarantee the Don minus, then this card isn't great. Next we have got Beppo. This is another great card for red purple Law. So this is a 4/5 which says on play or when attacking, if your opponent has more Don cards on the field than you do, add up to 1 Don card from your Don and rest it. So another thing to bear in mind about this card is you are consistently basically after like turn 3 always going to be like 1 or 2 Don behind your opponent. It won't matter because you're cheating out cards, but that means Beppo is going to be able to just ramp you. You're just going to be able to swing with Beppo and just get Don, which feels amazing in red purple Law. Not really worth it outside of red purple Law, but this is fantastic in that deck. Next, we have got the final one of the special cards, and the one that definitely sees the most play in Useless Captain Mid. This is 7/8. On play when attacking, Don -1, up to one of your leaders gains 1k until the start of your next turn. Simple, effective, very powerful. Your leader becomes 6k, or your leader becomes 7k, or of course if you combo this with 9-beard, then your leader can become up to 9k, which is obviously crazy. Yeah, this is a phenomenally powerful card, and if your deck can take advantage of it, because not all purple decks can, yeah, you play it. This is insanely good. And then finally for the characters, we have Wire. So this is a 3/3, 1k counter, blocker, and once per turn when a Don card on the field is returned to your Don deck, draw one and trash one. This is very, very, very good for filter, but it's a pretty crap blocker outside of that, and I don't really think you will want to be playing this come set 5, basically. And then we have the event suite. So we've got Gum Gum Giant Sumo Slap. This is a 1-cost 2k event that also KOs one of your opponent's characters with 2,000 less power. Good against Law. That's about it. And no trigger, so yeah, this is pretty bad. Then we've got Gum Gum Kong Gatling. This is a 5-cost event, which says main KO up to one of your opponent's characters with 7,000 or less power, and the trigger is up to one of your leaders gains 1k until the end of your next turn. Honestly, I will always prefer Jet Pistol to this, and Jet Pistol doesn't even see play a lot nowadays, so yeah, this is definitely not worth it. And finally, we have Punk Vice. This is a 3-cost event that says rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 2 or less, and ramp a Don at rest. And the trigger just straight up ramps. This is definitely the best of the options, but again, if you're not able to combo this with cost reduction, it's not great. There are chump blockers in the game, but a lot of cheaper blockers like 3 and 4 costs are much better, and this does nothing to those. So yeah, I think the events in this deck are largely speaking a bit of a mess, though I mean this is a good card in Zephyr. But yeah, the character cards are there's full of some absolute bangers here. There's basically one staple for every single one of these leaders, plus the outside of like the 3 special cards, plus the leaders themselves, plus amazing reprints.
Hello there everyone, it is handheld camera time. I am unboxing the 3 captains deck here. You're probably going to cut to some sort of analysis after this on my actual computer, but I did want to get this open whilst I had it. I'm not currently at home, but yeah, so this deck is, I don't know how much preamble I gave before this, is probably the best product in the card game. It is a really, really, really good way to start learning the game. For those of you who don't know what comes inside it, I mean, there's the back, which you're going to see in a moment, side, bottom, side, front. There's also a play sheet in here, which I think this is just the standard one that comes in every single starter deck. I don't think there's anything special about it. Yeah, I don't know, it's just whatever it is. All right, so here's what we get. We get this deck box inside this plastic tray. And this deck box contains your children's trading cards, as well as a deck divider and one of these little doohickeys. So first thing I want to say about this deck box is it's really nice that it's like, okay, listen, I'm not glazing, I'm just pointing this out. It's nice, it's one of those Velcro closures, and it actually does seem fairly solidly built. A lot of these style of acrylic deck boxes, when they include them in products like this, are the fold together ones that are just less sturdy, so I'm glad they didn't cheap out. I can't imagine it really cost them that much more, but I'm glad they didn't cheap out. We also get this deck divider, which has the artwork of the 3 captains on the front, so yep, and then the deck boxes, of course, sorry, I should have shown that. Luffy, Kid, Law, and then on the back, there's just a little bit of overlap, overspill artwork, and it's on top. So it's a nice deck box. It's a nice deck box. I will be using it. Here are the cards, and I have to say, I did open one of these earlier, which you can't see, but I'm really, really, really impressed by how good the cards look, more than anything. Because I think one of the things I had is like, when you make cards only available in the starter deck, I do feel like it can be a bit feels bad for people who want to just go full bling. But anyway, right, let's talk about the cards. So here's the leader. These look really good. So I'm trying to highlight the texture here because these genuinely look and feel like alt art leaders. And I think that is really, really cool because it means I'm not going to want an alt art because these genuinely do the job. These look really, really good. I'm trying to show like all the texture there. You can see the sort of raised ridging on the border there. You can see the sort of grainy texture on the actual cards, different little bits of on his sword, for example, and like the waves of his devil fruit ability. It looks really, really nice. Next, here's Luffy, and once again, similar sort of deal. Now here it's the Haki that has got this sort of flat, not flat, but like more shiny look, you know, like sort of standing out. This looks really, really nice. Looks really, really, really nice. And then finally, we've got Useless Captain Mid, who also looks really, really cool. Really nice textures going on there. Yeah, so these 3 all look fantastic. I don't think anyone would be mad if this was the version they were using, which I think is nice because I thought they were just going to be a lot flatter than they are. So then we get 2 copies of this Luffy. And let's talk about these SR textures. So you can see here, but these are actually quite textured. This is not the typical SR look, and that's really good because I mean, these do have alternate arts, but equally, like, they're going to be championship promos. So I think the fact that these look really nice is a bonus, especially for new players, because it's just nice to have some really, really cool shiny cardboard when you get into this game. I do especially like what they. I don't know if this is normal on the alt arts with the text. Maybe it is. I don't know. Maybe I just haven't noticed before. But yeah, so you get 2 Luffys, you get 2 of the lore. This lore is really, 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 really good. And it looks amazing. Look at that texture. I think this might be the nicest looking one. That just looks fantastic. I don't know why they didn't just make them like borderless if they were going to go through the effort of foiling everything out anyway, but that's what it is. You get 2 of this kid. And yeah, this one also looks absolutely phenomenal. I think just the Luffy just looks the worst is my sort of takeaway here. And this is obviously really, 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 really nice as well. So that's the kid. Then we get our reprints. So here we have 4 reprints of the Zoro, which means if you pick up 2 decks, which you'll probably want to, so you've got playsets, you're going to have a lot of Rush Zoros for use in all your decks. And I mean, again, if we highlight the texture here, that looks damn good. That looks damn good. Much, much, much better than the base rarity SR. Obviously not as good as the other alt arts, but you know, this is definitely a step up. And then for Nami here, and sorry, I wasn't planning on necessarily using these as one of my alt art versions. I want to have 4 different alt art versions of my lore deck, but honestly, this looks really, really good. I'm really pleasantly surprised, and I think the biggest thing for me, which you can see on the Zoro as well, but you can't actually see as much on the others, is this sort of thing what they've done with the border, where they've added in that world map, and they've really made it quite obvious. And I don't think you can tell as much on these, right? Like, it's there, but it's not quite as obvious as it is on the Nami, and I think it looks really, really cool. So yeah, these cards all look absolutely fantastic. So those are the really nice ones, right? So this is like the bling foils you get. So you get all of these in like this extra effort, like really, really nice shiny finishing. And then weirdly, all the remaining ones, they just sort of clocked out a bit, which I feel like it sucks a little bit if you're gonna make this all foil product, and then, you know, you got, okay, it just looks like a rare. It just looks like a slightly more shiny rare, which I feel like is quite disappointing. So I'm just going to go through and I'm just going to show off like what all the foils look like. But I am a little bit disappointed by by these ones. I just think, I mean, I don't know how much it costs to make them look like those first ones, but I feel like it would have been so cool to just have them all look that good. Which is just a bit of a shame because these decks are going to look absolutely fantastic. And I don't know, I just feel like as a new player, having all these like really cool bits of shiny card, 1 is gonna like make me more attached because of just how good my deck looks, but 2, it's probably gonna make them money because they're going to incentivize all these new players to want to like buy all these alt arts and collect and max rarity. So I don't know, but maybe making it more limited has a better effect. I don't know, I'm not a game designer or a marketer. There's Wire. And then we have the events, which do look a little better, not much though. I think that's just because the border also gets a foiling. These look slightly better, but still not quite as good as the first few. But yeah, these look really, really nice. And then finally, Punk Vice. So yeah, as a reminder, you only get 2 of a lot of these cards, so you should probably pick up 2 of them. And of course, we get our foil Don, which look fine, honestly. I prefer the manga Dons and stuff, but these are like good to just have. And you know, as usual, we'll end up with a ridiculous number of these as players and collectors of the game, but it is what it is. So that is what you get inside one of these, and let's cut back to the analysis.
Yeah, overall, this is an absolute W product. I think you have to pick this up, in my opinion. I think you just buy 2. This is, if you were going to get into this game now, I think this is one of the best purchases you can make. Stay tuned to the channel because what I'm going to be doing is doing a deck profile for just 2 of these, nothing else. What is your best possible deck with each of the leaders? So that's a plan that I'm going to be doing soon, so please do stay tuned for that. That's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please do like the video, subscribe to the channel for more One Piece card game content, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Cheers.